This is Dan Black, founder of Team Black. I'm here chatting with Staxx.
Man, I like Connor, but Nate, 8 days a week, twice on Sunday. You know what I mean? It's too big, too long, too strong, too good at cardio. And I like Connor. He's a cool cat. Talk shit and that. I think Connor might win the shit talking exchange, but that's about it. Honestly, I don't even know if he'd win that.
Yeah, it's brick right on again. Dude, I've had break brick on me. It ain't cool. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kia, boom. They don't even know it. Like, whoa, how'd you learn to hit people like that?
Top level guys, you know what I mean? So, those guys
Because
striking
he
with
knew
each
who
other.
he was up against. He kind of had an idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting the first time they fought, because that was somebody that, actually had business, striking.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Dan Black. What's up, Dan?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on my show. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, no worries.
So, you want to tell the people where you were born and raised? A lot of people know who you are, but you're a legend, man.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Born and raised in Oakland, California. And then, been in California most of my life.
What was it like for you growing up in California?
It was cool, it was rough, but that's what, made me who I am today. So I don't think I'd do it over different, Sometimes, God gives you what you need instead of what you want. So,
How did you even get into the sport that you're in?
Well, again, like I said, growing up in Oakland, I grew up in kind of a rougher neighborhood. So I made a lot of my friends fighting as a kid.
Do you remember your first fight? I remember mine.
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. My grandfather was a boxer. He made me fight neighborhood kids. So like right off the bat, I get my nose busted. I turn around crying. He's yelling at me, get the back in there. So I was like, so
Oh man,
didn't have it easy. So that's a good thing sometimes,
Tough kids in Oakland, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about some Oakland people being pretty good with their hands.
You learn to box. You're gonna learn to box one way or the other. So
definitely, man. When did you take it professional, as they would say?
Because like I said, I kind of grew up fighting and grew up around boxing. Did kickboxing, stuff like that. I started with Cesar Gracie in like '98 or '97, something like that. And then it was kind of when the sport started taking off. And then I was doing amateur stuff, and I had a bunch of stuff kind of fall out, and then I wasn't very impressed with the average level of training and coaching, and so I didn't really want to be a coach when I started coaching, but like it just kind of happened. Next thing I know, I got a bunch of people under me that are doing big things, and so I was like, okay, like I think I was like 35 or something when I was like, all right, I'm gonna focus exclusively on coaching and management, just to make sure the guys don't have to go through all the stuff I went through when I was coming up.
Why? What were some of the issues that you were dealing with? Because I know the sport was just in its infancy when it was first starting. It was pretty brutal, man. They didn't even wear gloves or anything, right?
Yeah. When things first started, it was way crazier than it is now. So no, I just saw like, because you'd have, a lot of people that are trying to just do one thing specific, right? Like, so you have jujitsu guys, they just do jujitsu, they don't do Muay Thai, right? You have Muay Thai guys, they don't do the jujitsu. Whereas, I grew up boxing. I think I started Muay Thai when I was like 12 or something, and then I started jujitsu at like 19. I wrestled a little bit in high school, so I felt like I was a lot more well-rounded as a coach, and I still think that, like a lot of people now, you have a bunch of coaches in each aspect of the sport, but then a
Yeah.
lot of them they don't talk to each other, and the wrestling coach is telling you to stand like this, the boxing coach is telling you to do this, and so it ends up getting, I think, a little confusing. So you have a lot of guys. It's that old saying, too many chefs mess up the soup or whatever, you
Yeah,
know. So
yeah.
yeah, I think I'm unique is in the area, around here. Like there's like most of the guys that are good Muay Thai coaches or good striking coaches. I tap them out easy in jiu-jitsu, and then the guys that are good jiu-jitsu coaches that compete with me jiu-jitsu, they win last round striking with me. So I think I have a little bit of a unique advantage coaching in that I'm able to do both at a decently high level. You know what I mean? And then of course, I still bring in guys that are better for the guys to get experience with that. But yeah, that was just something I noticed when going to other camps. You'll have like the wrestling coach telling you this, and the boxing coach telling you that, and the kickboxing coach telling you this, the jiu-jitsu guy telling you that, and then none of them really talk to each other or work with each other. There's rare circumstances that some gyms do have a team that works well together and they're cooperating, but
But everyone's pretty much, it's a competition, kind of like, I mean, not kind of, it is a competition, but
yeah. I think because it's competitive, and then it ends up kind of filtering into where it's even you're competing in your own gym. You know what I mean? I've seen that with some gyms that I've went to. Where, like I said, that it's good that you focus on your specialty, but then I think if you're going to have a team of coaches, they all need to communicate. You know what I mean? And because ultimately the fighters are all going to have different styles. They're going to have different things that they do well. You know what I mean? Like there's not just a blank recipe that works for everybody. Every martial arts it's unique. No matter even if you break it down to specific arts. You know what I mean? If we go boxing, you might be an in fighter, I might be a counter puncher. You know what I mean? And so I think like some boxing coaches will even do that. They were an in fighter, so they're trying to teach everybody to be an in fighter when your fighter might do better as a counter puncher. He might be better boxer puncher, sticking and moving. You know what I mean? So um, I think that's something that I saw just coming up, that I was like, okay, I don't ever try to give like a blank recipe for each one of my fighters. I try to I show them techniques, and then they're going to gravitate towards certain techniques, and then I try to strengthen those techniques, and then I expose them to other techniques. Maybe they won't use them, but I want them to at least know them, so that if someone tries to use them on them, they know how to counter that, or at least it's not the first time seeing it in the fight.
what was the like strong suit of the sport when you first got involved? Was it just wrestling? Because I remember when they were putting karate guys against wrestlers, and they were just tapping them out really fast. Boxers,
Yeah,
they were just mopping through them. So when they introduced
yeah.
wrestling, right, it kind of changed things.
It was, I mean, if you go back to like UFC 1 through 5, I always tell people that was kind of like a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu marketing ploy. Jorge Gracie was part owner for like the first 5 UFCs,
Yeah,
so they put Royce in there against, and Gracie's had been doing, the Vale Tudo stuff since, a long time ago. Like I think they were doing it in the 60s, down in Brazil. So for us up here, it was a new concept, but for them, it really wasn't, and so they put Royce in there, who's, if they would have put Hickson in, then people would have been like, oh, okay, Hickson's yoked and he's in shape. Whereas Royce, he looked kind of scrawny, skinny, nerdy, but he could fight, you know what I mean? So it was kind of a marketing ploy, I think, for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the first 5 UFCs, because you're putting them against guys that, have no idea what jiu-jitsu even is, you know what I mean? So that's the one thing I think the sport exposed, is that you're only as strong as your weakest link. If you don't have, good jiu-jitsu and you go up against a top jiu-jitsu guy, you're getting choked out, but you saw that with, things, where, like, because in the very first beginning of the sport, it was very much style versus style, right? So you had a jiu-jitsu guy, you had, straight kickboxers. The very first UFC, Gerard Gordeau was a dope Dutch kickboxer, right? He got all the way to the finals, knocked the guy's tooth out, all that stuff.
Yep.
But then if you don't know jiu-jitsu, then you're in trouble. You know what I mean? But then as the sport evolved, you saw with like Royce when he tried to come back and fight Matt Hughes, where Matt Hughes is a great wrestler and he knew jiu-jitsu and he had much better striking and he smoked Royce. Like it wasn't even a fight. You know what I mean? I think as the sports evolve now, it's come down to not so much what your art is. You kind of have to know a little bit of everything, but then it's also how you put things together. Also your experience level in those sports that make up MMA. Like Adesanya, for example, he has like over 80 kickboxing matches, high level. You know what I mean? So when he came on the scene, he's mind tricking these guys into thinking they should be having a kickboxing match with him. Like none of the guys he started fighting at the beginning of his UFC career had any business trying to strike with him. You're fighting a guy with 80 fights, in kickboxing, and he's making it a kickboxing match. Like you're not going to win that. You know what I mean? The guy who did the best with him was Pereira, who's also was, top ranked glory kickboxer. He won the 85 kilo and the 95 kilo championships in glory against top level guys. You know what I mean? So, those guys striking
because he
with
knew
each
who
other.
he was up against. He kind of had an idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting the first time they fought, because that was somebody that actually had business, striking with Izzy. Most of these guys that were fighting him before, even Yoel, I remember when Yoel Romero fought Adesanya and he was trying to make it a kickboxing match. And it's like, dude, you're a like elite level wrestler. You should be, taking him down using your wrestling. You know what I mean? But Izzy is very good at, tricking your brain into thinking you should be striking with him. And that's not the case for pretty much anybody,
I know you remember this fight with Forest Griffin. Do you remember that one?
The Stephan Bonnar.
Stephan Bonnar, Forest Griffin, when they were beating the shit out of each other, man. They were beat red. It was like, that was the most insane fight I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah. No, that was the sport that was the fight that kind of made the sport. Before that, UFC wasn't really, doing too good in the broadcasting. You know what I mean? And then that fight came on, and it wasn't the most technical fight, but it was a fun fight to watch.
Yeah, like them guys went the distance, man.
Yeah, and that's something I actually brought that up to someone the other day, because when Glory first came into America, they took us all in the back room and they played that fight, and they were like, this is the fight that made UFC big in America. And all the Dutch kickboxers were laughing. They're like, this is how I play around with my brother, because they were like, the striking level is just super low level compared to what those guys are used to doing. But they missed the point that it wasn't the level of striking. It was about the fight and showing the heart and
respect.
Just having
giving respect to have a stand up, knuckle up instead of, one of the other one could have took the other one down, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, not just making it, a striking match, but just like they were making it a war. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think the technical people are the people that think they're technical. They get away from the fact that people are trying to tune in for a fight. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the people aren't educated at striking per se. So having a super technical kickboxing match, a lot of people probably change the channel. That's the reason Glory actually never took off in the States. I don't think they marketed it right. Now they just do stuff in Holland. So they have some of the best strikers in the world, but in America, nobody cares and nobody watches it for the most part. Even though I watch it, but a lot of people don't. They want to see a fight. They want to see a brawl. You know what I mean? Remember Tough Man back in the day?
Of course.
The Tough Man champion.
Of course.
See, and that's what I mean. Those guys weren't technical, but those guys were coming to kill each other, and it was fun to watch. You know what I mean? So, people
great,
watch it for entertainment.